On the game's very first play yesterday, the Philadelphia Eagles ended up hitting for a 60-yard touchdown run. And today we're going to talk about what the Eagles ended up flashing on the offense side of the football, specifically with the offensive linemen. We'll talk a little bit about how Saquon Barkley had a massive day. And of course, even Will Shipley ended up having a really nice run towards the end of the game, which we'll get into a little bit later on. I'm excited for this one, man. The Philadelphia Eagles are officially in the Super Bowl. So congratulations to all the Eagles fans that have been supporting this channel. But I'm excited, man, to really get into this because I think the Eagles' offensive line is the best offensive line in the NFL. And of course, later on this week, we'll definitely look back and we'll talk a little bit about the defensive line as well. I said this in my video last week. Jalen Carter's the best defensive tackle in the NFL. And I truly stick with that. But let's break this play down here. 60 yards to the house. It's just a really well thought out play. So you're going to get this wide receiver going into motion. And with that, you're going to get a cornerback to essentially chase. And with that, you're also going to end up hitting a pin pull towards the left side where you're going to essentially get a crack block here by A.J. Brown. He's going to actually be one of the differences within this play because he's going to actually end up picking off two guys with this block. I think the fact that A.J. Brown's able to kind of push not only the defensive end that he's going to initially make contact with here, but he's going to push this guy into the linebacker, Bobby Wagner, here. And those two guys are going to essentially fall. Now, what happens within this play is, if you guys keep an eye on the left guard, center, and right guard, those three guys there have to pick off these three guys there. And Bobby Wagner's actually going to end up going unblocked. This is a very difficult block for the center here to be able to get up to Wagner. If him and the left guard try to exchange, that's a hard thing to do as well. Bobby Wagner goes unblocked. He makes this play here, but A.J. Brown is able to push this guy into Wagner. And Wagner ends up falling, and then, of course, Saquon Barkley just kind of does the rest. Just a really, really good job by those guys up front. We'll look at some of the offensive linemen. Jordan Mailata, arguably the best left tackle in the NFL. I know some people will disagree with that, but I think this guy's an absolute superstar. The development he's taken from when he first came to the Eagles to where he's at today has been incredible. This guy's an absolute elite football player, but you see him get out in space. He does a really good job finding the guy that he needs to cut off, which is going to be the corner here. He does a really good job being able to flip the hips. You can keep an eye here on the tight end. The tight end's going to lead block. Again, pin pull. Really, really good job by the guys up front. A.J. Brown, the tackle, the tight end. And of course, Saquon Barkley just makes people miss downfield. Best running back in football. Best offensive line. And it's just flashing, man. And it's working really, really, really well together. Let's get into the next play here. On the second drive of the game, the Philadelphia Eagles started to slowly drive downfield. They picked up 20 yards on this really nice pass by Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith. Just a really nice out route run by the wide receiver at the bottom of your screen. A great job. Great concept, especially against cover 6, which is one of the things that the Commanders run a lot. But I want you guys to watch the right guard on this one. To me, Mekhi Becton has been a game changer for the Eagles. The guy is an absolute phenomenal football player. And one of the things with his tape is just how strong he is. You see so many plays where this guy ends up anchoring down against some of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. You literally don't get much movement while you're trying to bull rush him. It's really, really impressive. And it's allowed the Eagles to utilize a lot of five-man protections. Now, this one's not a five-man protection, but Mekhi Becton's been really solid, and I think he deserves a lot of credit. And I'm not seeing the love in the general NFL that he deserves. The guy has been really, really, really solid. Here's another one. Here's the actual touchdown run that Saquon Barkley had, but you just see the movement generated by the right guard and the center as well. You're going to have an inside zone concept, which means you're going to get a double team here up to the linebacker number 4. And watch the movement that Becton's going to end up having on this defensive lineman. Look at how much they're going to ultimately be able to push this guy back. And it's just a really, really good job by those two guys. They're going to be able to kind of turn the hips on the defensive tackle there. Mekhi Becton specifically ends up sticking to him. Dickerson obviously played center for the Eagles in this game, with Jurgens obviously banged up. And Becton's basically going to stick to the block. He's going to flip the hips. And to me, this is just a really, really good job by those two guys. Now, Barkley does a really nice job as well. You're going to see the linebacker's going to jump the gap. Dickerson's going to be just a little bit slow to get to number 4. But of course, Barkley has that phenomenal jump cut ability. And he just jumps right outside. He ends up taking this for a touchdown. Now, of course, on that last play, Dickerson struggled to get to the linebacker and make the proper block. He did have a couple of plays in this game where he struggled a little bit. Now, of course, it's understandable playing the center position in the NFL. Pretty sure this is the first time he played center. He may have taken snaps in the past at center, but for the most part, Dickerson, we understand he's not a center anymore. And I know he played center in college. In fact, he was one of the highest center prospects I had at that time coming out. He moved over to guard. He's been a really good guard. And I understand he's also hurt and he's dealing with the knee issue himself. But if he ends up starting for the Eagles when the Super Bowl comes around, you're going to have to clean some of these little things up, right? This here is just a little bit of miscommunication, not trusting the guy in the backfield. The way you handle the double A-mug look, which the Commanders run a lot. The Chiefs don't run this necessarily a lot, but they will if you have a center that struggles picking this up. But the way you handle this is you're going to essentially block out with the left guard, left tackle. The center is going to just pick one of these two guys. It's obviously going to be communicated which one it is. And then the running back, or in this case, the tight end, picks up the other one. And based off what the tight end does, it almost looks like he goes to the linebacker in the right A-gap, which means Dickerson should have taken the other guy. Now, with that, you're going to see Dickerson's going to end up starting to the left, but then he almost comes back to the right. To me, that's the wrong way to pick this up. You got to take the guy and stick to the guy and let the tight end take the opposite guy. Now, of course, you do see these guys talking over here. You also see Dickerson's pointing out towards the right. Not 100% sure what happens. Not a big deal, but I did want to just point it out. So, obviously, Dickerson is having some sort of knee issue. You guys can see another one, double A-mug look. He's going to take the guy on the left. And you can just see the struggle of him getting to that guy. You can also see he's limping. Shout out to him for playing through that injury, man. The Eagles needed him to step up and switch positions. And not only did he do that, but, for the most part, he did a good job, right? Obviously, this one, you got that pressure coming right through the middle. But generally speaking, he did a good job. So shout out to Dickerson. It's a guy that I've absolutely loved for a really, really long time. You're going to get a 10-yard run on this one. Just a really, really good job by the guys up front. Got to give a lot of credit to arguably the best tackle in the NFL. That's going to be Lane Johnson. Really nice down block on the defensive lineman. Guy's playing like that long 3 technique where he's shaded towards the guard, but he's technically to the inside of the tackle. Some people will say it's a 4-eye. However, I generally call this a long 3 technique because of the fact that he's shaded towards the guard. He is essentially saying that if this guy's going to try to reach him, he's not going to allow that, right? He has this gap here and he's going to stay within that run fit. But of course, the Eagles are going to utilize that against him. And the reason how they're going to do that is basically they're going to run a counterplay towards the right. And you're going to see that Lane Johnson, Kai Becton do a really good job holding the gap. To me, just a really nice job by Johnson and Becton. Johnson's going to end up blocking the guy playing that long 3 technique. And then just look at the crushing block here. Look at that movement that he generates. And of course, he flips the hips as well. And Saquon Barkley picks up about 10 yards. That's a really, really good job right there. Now, one of the things that's not talked about enough with the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line and why it is the best offensive line in the NFL and why the scheme is different than most schemes in the NFL is the fact that these guys 5-man pass protect a ton. Sometimes people out there will say, hey, offensive line 1 gave up 10 sacks, offensive line gave up 30 sacks. Therefore, offensive line 1 is better than offensive line 2. But this is why stats lie a little bit sometimes because you're not accounting for scheme. One of the things the Eagles do a lot is they're going to 5-man pass protect. You're going to get 5 guys to go up against 5 defensive linemen, or for the most part, it's usually 4. One of these guys generally drops off. But that 5-on-4 right there allows an offense to utilize more actual targets and weapons. You don't have to chip with your tight end or your running back. You can put these guys on actual routes, and you can have 4 or 5 guys running actual routes downfield. It's what allowed the Detroit Lions to have a lot of success with Ben Johnson over the past couple of years, and it's allowing the Eagles to also have a lot of success. And of course, I've already given credit to Mekhi Becton, but he's a big factor as to why you're able to 5-man pass protect. Mekhi Becton dominates pretty much everybody, right? Or for the most part, he's able to hold his own against most people because he's so strong. He's able to anchor, and that allows you to get a double team with the left guard and center. And of course, the left tackle, right tackle also are usually in one-on-ones. They're also very good players. But the 5-man pass protection the Eagles go to pretty often is a very, very underrated. And they do a really good job at it, right? You get all these targets to basically run downfield. You're able to get guys open. You're able to design multiple concepts. If you only have 2 guys running routes, what ends up happening is you're only going to have one concept designed downfield. If you have 4 or 5 guys running routes downfield, you can have multiple concepts designed within the same play, right? So again, never overlook the fact that the Eagles 5-man pass protect at a much higher rate than most NFL teams. Usually the running back runs out. Of course, that's unless you get that double A-mug look. In that instance, the running back's going to get involved in the pass protection. In this instance, he's going to end up taking number 4. Really nice job by Barkley to be able to pick that up. Stays right in front of it, keeps the quarterback clean. The quarterback's able to get the ball out. This one picks up 11 yards on 3rd and 5. Alrighty guys, we got a couple more plays that I want to look at. Just some really nice, impressive plays by the guys up front. You know, one of the things that's going to be overlooked is communication. I think it's one of the things that as an offensive lineman, if you communicate well, if you process well, and more than that, if the guy next to you kind of feels you and understands what he has to do. And of course, that's the one thing with the Jeff Stoutland offensive lines is very well in terms of the communication, in terms of understanding all the different situations. So you're going to get an inside zone on this one. It's going to hit for 22 yards. And they're going to basically get all the way down to the 1 yard line. But I want you guys to think about what Jordan Mailata does within this play. Just watch and think about what he does. That right there is impressive as hell. All right, and again, it happens quickly in real time, so I think sometimes people overlook it. But think about what you see right now. You have a guy who you think has the outside containment. You have a linebacker who you think has the B gap. And then you have a guy in the long 3 technique, which probably has the A gap. And this is what you think right now in terms of the run fits. However, that's not actually the case. Instead, you're going to get a run stunt where 2 guys are going to slant to the right, and you're going to get a 3rd guy to slant over here towards the outside. And as an offensive line, this is a confusing ass thing that generally happens. But you see that these guys understand that that's happening, and they understand how to pass it off and switch. All right, it's a very difficult thing to do, and this play hits because of the fact that Mailata not only passes off the D end, but Tyler Steen sees that the D end needs to be passed off, and Steen's going to pick this guy up. He gets underneath him, and he drives him back, and he flips the hips as well. Right, if you think about what happens within this play and how these guys not only swap the 2 defensive linemen, Mailata steals out, Steen steals inside, and just like that, the running back's going to basically be able to hit this for a 22-yard play. Just a really good job, 2nd and 1, 22 yards. Gets you all the way down to the 1 yard line. Just a really nice job by the guys up front. And of course, Cam Jurgens, who came on in the second half, also does a good job. He's going to take the 3 technique who's slanting to the inside. He just straight up flips it, man. That's an incredible rep right there. Makes contact, look at the feet, look at him turn, and just beautiful, man. I mean, it does not get better than that. This is why the offensive line here is the best offensive line in the NFL. It's just really impressive. We got 2 final plays that we're going to look at. We're going to get the 16-yard run by Shipley and the 57-yard run as well. So a really good job here by the offensive lineman. Shipley just kind of runs straight. He does a good job squeezing through there. It's a really small gap for him to kind of get between. He does a good job protecting the football. Runs through there. He picks up 16 yards on the first one. Really nice job by the backup tackle, Fred Johnson. He's going to reach the guy to his inside shoulder. It's a really good job. Guys lined up in the 4 eyes. Pretty difficult reach. But, I mean, to me, that's incredible right there. Look at the reach and then just the physicality to toss this guy out of there as well. Look at this. Absolutely throws his ass. Love that block right there by Johnson. And, of course, the final play is going to be the 57-yard touchdown by Shipley. Again, just a really nice job. And this one really comes down to Shipley being able to see, and I take that back, it's not an actual touchdown. 57 yards, though, just a really good job to be able to read and recognize. Counterplay towards the left. One of the things with the Eagles that I really appreciate is they do have a lot of runs towards the weak side. A lot of teams don't run to the weak side, right? And the Eagles do. And a part of that is just because they have really good tackles that can seal out. And they have guys that can move and get out in front and do things the way you see with guys like Mekhi Becton. Becton's going to lead out in front here, and he's going to pick off the guy playing the defensive end spot here. A really nice job by 77 to get to the spot. Pushes number 4 outwards. At the same time, you got a couple of down blocks. Mailata does a really nice job crushing it, sealing it downwards as well. Steen, Mailata, you get all these guys to be able to back block. And then, of course, the tight end gets up to the linebacker, does a pretty good job taking the outside angle. And then Shipley does a really nice job seeing all that, cutting it back inside. 57 yards just like that. Just a really good job by these guys. The Eagles obviously did a really nice job on the offensive line. Kellen Moore's done a lot of really good things as well for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been able to just kind of do his thing. I'm excited for the Super Bowl, man. I really do think this is the best Eagles team I've seen since I've been covering the Eagles over the last 2 to 3 years. And this next game coming up is going to be a very fun game. So I'm excited for it. Congratulations if you're an Eagles fan on all the success this season. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time with another video.